Everyone knows that humans are creative by nature, and I've already done some videos in the past about the difference between our great ape cousins like the orangutans and human beings. But how long ago did creativity actually evolve? Now, this has been a subject of debate for a lot of scientists for many, many years. And recently I've come across some very interesting scientific studies that shed new light on just how far back creativity actually evolved. See, up until a couple of years ago, the general consensus was that the first known examples of creativity were from approximately 40,000 years ago. This is the time when we had Homo sapiens emigrating and migrating into Europe. And in some of those caves where they lived, they found fragments of musical flutes, they found necklaces made of shells, and they found cave paintings with geometric shapes that would indicate that language had been developed, all signs of creativity. And this was generally regarded as being the first known example of creative thought that had been discovered. But scientists still ask themselves what may have happened before then. Were there examples of creativity before then? Well, yes, but what they also found is new evidence around how there'd been certain spikes in creativity followed by long periods of not much new creativity happening. So, for example, over 1 million years ago, there's evidence that humans gained the ability to control fire. They discovered fire, but they invented, through creative methods, the ability to control fire. In the same way, then, after that, there seems to have been a period for several 100,000 years when not much else happened. They already had the ability to make stone tools, but the most exciting evidence that I've recently come across is some caves in South Africa, which ranged between about 120 to 70,000 years ago. So already at least 30,000 years before the examples that we discussed earlier, where there's evidence of glue produced by multiple chemical reactions being produced, controlled fire, pigments stored in containers, and even examples of bedding for the Homo sapiens being taken from the specific leaves and bark from a very specific tree that had insecticide properties. So these people were going out and instead of just gathering any leaves, they were gathering leaves from a very specific tree because they discovered this ability that it would help ward off mosquitoes, which several 100,000 years ago were a big, big killer of our ancestors in Africa. So it seems that the general consensus of 40,000 years ago is too early. The consensus seems to be that there were plateaus of creativity, but it really, really ignited around 100,000 years ago. And those same scientists have started asking themselves what changed in the interim time period to really spark off this growth in creativity. And they've got two main theories. One is biological and one is demographic. So biologically, over the last 6 million years, we've developed larger and larger and larger brains. That's well known. These brains hold more neurons. But not only that, when we compared the structure of our brains, especially the prefrontal cortex, where most of our attention and higher level thought is captured, to our primate cousins, especially the chimpanzees and the bonobos, structurally we have more neurons there, but those neurons are actually more spaced out. There's wider gaps in between them. And those two ideas are a bit contradictory. Surely if more neurons was the answer, you just want them as close together so they'd be as dense as a chimpanzee, and therefore the additional space would lead to space for more neurons. But the fact that we have wider gaps in between these neurons allows more connections in between them to form. So they're able to branch out through their dendrites and axons and create more synapses along much larger distances. So the structural difference actually allows more varied connections to form what we now know is the basis around how ideas are formed. Similarly to that, what happened around 100,000 years ago is that computer models around migration of humans around Africa and out of Africa, as well as population models, have been taken together to try and estimate the density of human populations around 100,000 years ago and before then and after then. And it seems that around 100,000 years ago, there was an inflection point where population density reached some sort of critical mass. And this then allowed people to start sharing knowledge, and really ideas became like viruses that spread very quickly around very dense populated communities, and therefore as they migrated and met other people, they would spread that way as well. So it was not only an evolutionary change of how our brain's size was changing, it was also a demographic change that finally provided the spark for creativity to really flourish. So if anyone asks you ever, I'm not sure if they would, but when creativity actually evolved, the answer is now around 100,000 years ago. Now, I know I've quoted a lot of scientific studies. I'll make sure to put them down in the description below. And if you want more insights around how creativity formed, and more importantly, how to develop your own creative capabilities, then make sure you go to www.ideatovalue.com. I'm Nick Skillicorn, the editor there, and make sure you sign up for our newsletter and our free training on creativity. It's the best on the internet as far as giving you evidence-based insights on what actually makes a difference for your creative performance. If you found this video interesting, then please also like and share it, and check out all of the other videos that I've uploaded on innovation and creativity. Up until then, I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked it, please like, share and subscribe, and leave me a comment about what you thought and what you'd like to see more about. If you want to take your creativity and innovation capabilities to the next level, then invest in yourself with the premium training only available at ideatovalue.com. These exclusive training modules have all been put together by me, Nick Skillicorn, and have been used by thousands of artists, innovation leaders and CEOs to become better at understanding the source of their creativity and executing on their innovation ambitions. And there is no risk to you, as they're backed by our money-back guarantee. Now, don't forget to go out there and make your ideas a reality. See you again soon.